as a planner, you can plan everything to a T, and you can try to control everything, but the one thing you cannot control is people.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yep.
And so you just have to move with them.
Yeah.
And you have to pivot with them.
Ooh.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sips and Conversations Live. I am your host, Nancy Ngwa, and today I am sipping on a cab, I believe, yes, Cabernet Sauvignon, okay, 2017 Toasted Head. And I don't know if y'all ever had this, but we're trying it out today for the first time as I sip with my girl, Alexia DeRizzio, the Savvy Planner. So y'all, let's go ahead and raise our glasses, raise your water or whatever, clear your throat as I welcome in Alexia, the Savvy Planner, to today's live.
Hi,
Oh, I let you in.
Hi. How are you?
Right now, I'm hot. I'm sweating. I'm like, I had to turn on my AC because I forget that it's no longer like wintry and I sweat. I'm not like you. I don't have perfect pores. So
I'm actually pulling myself from not even turning it on. I'm probably going to end up turning it on as well. So
yeah. So welcome, Lex. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm well.
Yeah. Good. Your lipstick is popping. First of all, I must say that before we get to started. All right, Lex. So before we hop into the conversation, let's go ahead and hear just a quick little intro. What's your elevator speech? Who are you?
Okay.
And all that good jazz.
Okay, so I am Alexia DeRizzio, owner and lead planner for the Savvy Planner, where we specialize in weddings and events. And we just allow people to be guests at their own event. We take it from A to Z, the planning aspect to the experience, the day of coordination, and just making sure that everyone has a great time as they celebrate their milestone events.
Yes. And you are like queen of events. Give me 1 second. Let me turn on like some.
Okay.
I'm sweating. Okay. All right, I'm back.
I have to pull out my glass of Chardonnay.
Oh, you have some Chardonnay. Yes. That's usually my drink of choice. And so I'm kind of stepping into my grown girl shoes and drinking a cab. And so it's probably gotten a little warm too. Like
that too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how did before we get into the Savvy Planner, let's talk all about Alexia.
Okay.
So who is Lex? Where are you from? Because you got a nice little crisp accent. I know all your deets, but let's just.
So I am, funny enough, everyone says they hear an accent, but I think I chip in and out with the Caribbean accent and the American accent. So I'm originally from Jamaica, Montego Bay to be specific. And I came here when I was really young. I moved to New York, lived in New York for many years, and then I migrated here to Georgia. So I've been in Georgia now going on almost, I want to say, about 9 years. I can't believe it's been 9 years.
That's crazy.
Since I've been here. So I'm originally from Jamaica, and used to come here for school, went back to Jamaica during the summer, as most immigrants would typically do. And then
no. You were a privileged immigrant. Because most immigrants don't have the money, to be going back and forth. We broke. We broke and we sitting.
It's a struggle, but when I came when Jamaicans we would go to school and then go back home and then come back the day before school. So it was just like a common thing.
That's crazy. So did you know someone like in the States?
So my mom was actually the first person in my family to come to the United States.
Wow.
And so she brought me here. I came here when I was almost 9 years old.
Wow.
And it was just her and I, and she was able to, send for her siblings.
Yeah.
And then everyone kind of gradually came, but we're all over the globe, from Florida, all over the Caribbean, Canada, everywhere. But she actually brought me here, and my dad lived in Jamaica, and I would just go back and forth.
Okay. So that makes sense. So you were in the States with your mom during like the school year, and then you'd go back to Jamaica and party it up and live it up with your dad and eat some real good curry chicken.
a lot of food, good food. That's our culture. We're all about the food and the celebration. Hence why I'm in the business that I'm in, because it's all about the celebration, especially when you don't come from money, you know? Yeah.
I love that you kind of nailed on that point.
Yeah.
So so you're going back and forth. You obviously finished school. Did you go up to school, like college after like high school and all that?
Yes, I actually went to high school, college in New York. I went to
Okay.
college in Long Island, and got married in New York, have a friend circle in New York, and then I came here to Georgia. Again, my mom moved to Georgia, and I had to come and visit. Fell in love with Georgia, and then here we are.
And then here we are.
But yeah, went to college here and everything.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Great. Okay. So, at what point in time did you kind of figure out that did you start doing events?
Okay. That's a great question.
Was it back up north, or was it once you moved down here?
You know what? I've never really not done events. I think the question is, it's just always been a part of who I am. I've just I remember always being the person, doing all my friends' parties, the get-togethers, making sure that everyone is celebrated. So I don't remember not doing an event, whether it was paid or just doing it just to do it. I was always the person, even from high school, middle school, everyone would come to my house. We would have gathering. If it's a snow day, they know it's coming to Alexia's house. And we would get together if someone's birthday, New Year's. So I don't remember not doing an event. When I got to college and started participating in the Student Government Association, and I was actually vice president, then president of the Caribbean Club, we did a lot of events. And plenty of parties, but also plenty of, community service work and things like that, what we organized. So I've just always been one foot in the door with events. I love the celebration part of it. I love when people can just take a minute from their stressful life and just be in the joy for whether it's that couple hours, just celebrating their goodness of the milestones of where they are in life. So I've just always been a person who loves to celebrate. My house has always been a house where I love to have people over. The more the merrier. I love to have food, lots of food, lots of loud music. The louder the better.
The louder the better. Okay, so before you got into, I guess, event planning professionally, you said you went to college. What did you go to college for?
I actually went to college for political science. My intent was to actually be an attorney.
Okay, why did you want to be an attorney? I have to ask that question. I'll tell you why.
I wanted to be an attorney because I loved the idea of speaking up for the underdog, being a defense to the underdog, being there to help people. So even in college, we started a internship process where we started a small claims hotline to help people through the process. And so that was always my thing, just helping the underdog coming to America, as an immigrant. You go through your bullying stage and people call and tell you to get back on your banana boat and all those things. So it's like you kind of develop this empathy for people and understanding that everyone has a story. What makes you behave the way you behave, whether good, whether bad, indifferent. I just like to be that person, to be an advocate for people. And so in the law, I saw that was a way for me to be able to do that. I did 2 semesters of law school, actually, at Pace University.
What?
Yeah, I did 2 semesters, and I hated it.
So why did you hate it?
Did not like it.
Why was it just not? Was it like a lot of more, all about the too much legal, or is it too much? Like, what was it about it that? I know that sounds stupid, right?
No,
like,
no. That's actually a good question. I understand it. And you can attest to this, when you think about the law and you have, especially when you watch TV and Law and Order, and you have this, mindset that you're going to go in, you're going to be the champion of, for the underdog. And you realize the law is just not set up that way. It's very vague and very interpretive. And so you are literally, yes, they say, someone's, innocent to proven guilty. No. You're
Yeah.
guilty and you have to prove innocent.
Which is
And
crazy.
so it's really interpretive, and I can go on and on about that, but I
Yeah.
just found that being on that side of the fence, it just
Yeah.
it's not what I expected. And
Yeah.
you kind of have to have a certain, you teeter totter between the ethical part of it. And
Yes.
so I
Yeah.
wasn't comfortable with that part.
Yeah.
And so I found it just was not for me at all.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something new for me. I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, that's why we have so much alike in common.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually wanted to go to law school,
Mhm.
but it was because I legit just wanted to drive a Range Rover and wear cute clothes all day in heels, like absolute seriousness. So I was like, what kind of law would I even do? I kind of settled on business law because I felt like that was like the cleanest.
Right.
I'm not sending anybody to jail. I'm not
Mhm.
doing any of that. And then I was like, I realized it was my mom's dream, not
Yeah.
mine.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, we're not going to law school.
Yeah.
I put
Yeah.
away the law books, the LSAT study guides, and I was like, we're not
Mhm.
doing that.
Mhm.
So I love that you had a purpose and you were living through purpose, even when you decided to exit. So
Yeah.
that's totally dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk us through your you have a really kind of incredible story. I don't mind. I hope you don't mind me kind of
No,
you
not at
sharing.
all. Not at all. For
Okay.
those who are joining in, Nancy and I, we are more than just this platform. So she knows my story. So go ahead, shoot. Let's
Okay.
hear us.
So I'm trying to just ask questions if I don't know or whatever. But so with after law school, at what point did you decide to kind of enter the can y'all hear me? Uh-oh, my
Mhm.
AirPods here. Did you decide to enter the workforce, and what was your first entry to the workforce?
So after that, I was actually working in financial aid at a university.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, coming from Jamaica, not understanding the system. Yes, my mom was here. Yes, she went to school and she eventually became a nurse. But
Wow.
coming from the Caribbean, we didn't know anything about financial aid or credit. It was
Yeah.
you work, you pay, work, you
Yeah.
pay.
Right.
you know,
Right.
and
Right.
so when I was applying for college, it was like, oh my God, this is a lot of money. My mom is
Yeah.
working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
There is no way I'm going to ask this lady to come out of pocket with all of this money. And I had to figure it out really quickly.
Yeah.
I do have a gift for numbers. So numbers is my thing. Like when it comes to money, I can tell if you short me to the penny. I know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it was like, okay. And back then, there was no going online and completing the FAFSA. It was go to the library, get your little paper form, and
Yeah.
you have
Wow.
to understand your taxes. I learned about the taxes really quickly.
Wow.
I made appointments with my mom's accountant, and I sat with him, and he taught me some things, and I
Yeah.
took it, and I was like, okay, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this, right?
Yeah.
So I actually applied to colleges that was out of state. I didn't know there was an out-of-state fee until I started seeing these numbers come in. I'm like, who is going to pay this? I can't afford this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
literally last minute, I applied to a college in Long Island, SUNY Westbury. And I applied like the August. School was starting in like 2 weeks. I did everything in one day.
Wow.
I said, you know what? I have to stay in New York. There's no way. Because I wanted to go to Maryland Eastern Shore.
Why there?
I love the campus. I love the Maryland, DC area. The DC area just comes to life. And when you think about a lawyer living on near the Capitol, that's like the dream,
Right. Yeah. Olivia Pope, just.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to be in DC. And at the time, Living Color was like a big thing. And Pam in Living Color, she was with Queen Latifah. She had the bad suits and she had her briefcase. And I just knew I was going to live on somebody's, block or in DC and have the little briefcase. But I realized very quickly that the way my funds are set up,
okay, I'm saying right here.
Afford that. Yes.
Right. Okay. And so did that drive you, I guess, to go into the financial world in an education setting? Okay.
Really quickly. Yeah. And I realized also that I wasn't the only one coming from, like I said, an immigrant background who just did not understand the system.
Yeah.
And yes, we have high school counselors and people who can help, but we live in the real world. They help who they want to help.
Can you say that again? Because
they help who they.
it's such a fact. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel really bad for, I have such, not feel bad, but I do have a real passion for like the youth, especially, in underprivileged household areas, or even in good areas where maybe their parents are kind of always on the go and they don't necessarily have, someone there to kind of guide them.
Right.
So yeah, like educating the youth is greater than just textbooks. It's finances. It's
Yes.
how to get a job. Like
Mhm.
it's so many things like that. So I love that you were living with that purpose. I think
Yeah.
that is
Thank
just so
you.
dope. You're so awesome.
Thank
Okay,
you so
so
much.
we exit you moved down to Georgia, and so were you still like in the education financial
I
world?
was. I
Okay.
actually, I was in higher education for 17 years.
Wow.
But even though I was in higher education, I always had one foot, we call it the auxiliary office. That's where they do all the events and all the graduations and the galas. And,
Oh wow. Okay.
wherever college I worked, I always tried to, poke my head in and say, hey, do you need a volunteer? Do you need
Yeah.
help? And, how do you do this? And, keep my ears to the ground of what they're doing and how they're managing it. Because, we are all creative. We can come
Yeah.
up with a flower,
Yeah.
theme event. We can come up with a tablescape, but the business side of it is where a lot of us kind of, fall short. And so stepping into those arenas and those offices and, even just be the person to give out the programs, I'm
Yeah.
looking to see how they're breaking up, strategically planning how the flow of the event will happen. And so just being around that, and in higher education, most of us that worked in universities, it was also mandatory, or some of them voluntarily, but mandatory for you to attend the graduation. For me, I didn't mind because that was my
Yeah.
opportunity to see what is going on
Yeah.
and to see the movement,
Yeah.
the timing of everything, and the
Yeah.
behind the scenes of everything. So I learned a lot doing that.
Wow. So were you intentional about that? Did you know that at some point this was something that you were going to turn into a full-time business, or was it just you're just rolling once again with purpose
Yes, just
and
rolling with
passion?
purpose. I had no idea. I just knew it was something I loved.
Yeah.
I just knew I loved to see the people's faces when they stepped into a room, and it was like a wow factor, and things were organized and it was
Yeah.
flowing and people were happy.
Yeah.
I just loved that whole feeling, and just to see people's reaction. I had no idea this was going to be my path. Not a clue.
Wow.
Not a clue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You said some just, I mean, really amazing things I just kind of really want to highlight on is that when you're operating in purpose and you're just operating just out of passion,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay if you're not getting paid for that thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's something that's within us. And I really do believe that God, was preparing you
Absolutely.
in that moment for what was to come. So I want to kind of get to that. So at what point did you decide I want to make this a career? I want this to be my path.
So when I was in New York, I actually, my very first wedding, and I don't think I've shared this story too much. I was working at Fordham University,
Okay.
and I was actually in the Terrytown campus and not down by in the Bronx office. And I would go back and forth to the Bronx, and we did a huge graduation at Fordham University. And I remember one of the parents of a student, he said, "Oh, I see that you're helping with the graduation. Do you do weddings?" I was like, "Weddings? No, sir.
Yeah.
I am a suit wearing, you know,
I am a
graduation."
corporate lady
Yeah, like
and
weddings,
some,
no, that's too much
yeah.
love and things going
Yeah.
on. That's not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And he's
Okay.
like, "Well, my son is getting married." I knew his son because his son was one of my students and he was graduating. And his girlfriend was also graduating. So he was planning to propose. They did the proposal. And he said, "Come on over on Sunday." He lived right in the Bronx. Come and check us out. They were a Jewish family. And if you know the Jewish
Oh
culture,
wow.
there's a lot of movement and precision when it comes to planning a wedding or even an event. Just even the food itself, you have to be
Okay.
very precise and
Okay.
follow their traditions and
Okay.
their meal prep So that's very important to know. Their traditions are
Oh yeah, the
very,
nail print part. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
And so I went over and he's like, just take a chance on the wedding. And I was like, okay, you're trusting me to do this. You feel like I can do this. In my
Why are you
mind,
paying me?
I was so shocked. I didn't even ask about payment. I didn't even ask anything about payment.
Wow.
I'm just thinking, this man is wanting me to do this wedding, and his family is counting on this wedding to be the best.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me do the wedding. I did the wedding, and as I'm planning, I'm like, it wasn't hard for me.
Wow.
It wasn't difficult. It wasn't difficult for me to reach out to vendors. It wasn't hard for me to pull it together. And a lot of the things that I found, like you said, that God was preparing me for, it just came naturally. It just rolled right out, you know, understanding the budget, understanding the numbers, you know, doing the timeline, doing the floor plan, the design pieces of it. It just rolled right out. And the wedding turned out beautifully. They had a wonderful time. And for some reason, that was it. And then I waited years later.
Wait, you did that one event?
Yes.
And the end.
This wedding had about almost 300 people. People were calling me left and right. But see, that's the thing when you are so stubborn, not following where you need to go, following that path that God has created for you. You kind of like, okay, that went well, that was nice. He gave me some money, and the pictures were gorgeous. They were all excited, and I just went on to living my life.
Wow.
Wow. And then later on, I'll never forget, when I was pregnant with my son, my second child, a close friend was getting married, and she's like, Alexia, you always plan our birthday stuff. You always plan our things. Just plan the wedding. I don't want to do anything. Just tell me when to show up. Yeah. And I literally planned her wedding from start to finish. I even picked her wedding dress.
Wow. And this is now your second official wedding. Mm-hmm. And you're like, now we styling.
Yeah. And in that moment, I guess maybe because I was pregnant, I was extra sensitive to, feelings and all the love that was around me. But I realized in that moment, like, I really love this. Yeah. Like, I love the way I feel when I'm doing this. Yeah. I love the you ever go to a wedding and you get these mushy feelings and you're like, where do all these feelings come from? Yeah. Love really permeates in the space. Yeah. The vibe is there. And so when you have people joining their lives together, you literally feel that love. You feel it all around you when you're in a wedding. And so I remember standing, and I was standing in the back of the room. They were saying their I do's. And every wedding that I plan, I always try to hear their I do's. I always fix the timeline so I get to hear the I do's. That's my favorite part. So I never miss an I do. And so I'm listening to the I do, and I'm like, this is where I belong. Like, this is it. Now, how do I make this happen? I had no idea how to make this happen.
Wow. So you just keep working.
I just keep working. Any events that came my way, I would do it. When I came down to Georgia, I was like, okay, I want to do it. How do I do it? I'm still in higher education, mind you. Yeah. But I was like, you know what? Georgia.
Wait, so you're working. Hold on. Quick pause.
Yes.
So you're working in higher education, which is higher ed is just such a respectable education in general is so respectable, but like higher ed, there's so many hours you put in. And, especially like if you're in the financial world, like I know, like my brother was a college athlete and he was waiting on those financial payments to come through. And I know how they would all harass those people. So I can only imagine the workload. You said 2 kids now at this point. You've got your first child and is
my first child, Savannah. She was 6 at the time, and my son was 3 when I moved here.
Okay. Yeah. And you got a whole husband.
So and a whole husband.
A whole two babies. I mean, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, a husband, 3 babies.
Exactly.
and working full time, and you're still following your purpose. Like, I hope no one has, like, I hope everybody caught that, because sometimes following your purpose, not sometimes, a lot of times, it's not sexy, right? Like, I'm sure you're tired.
It's not sexy. I'm just letting you
Yeah,
know it is a
yeah.
sacrifice. And when I started feeling, because when you don't belong somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
people listen to this. When you do not belong somewhere, you start to feel uncomfortable.
Mm,
And so, working in higher education, I loved working with the students,
yeah,
but I was so uncomfortable, and
yeah,
I couldn't figure out, why am I not happy? Picture wise, you have the family, the
yeah,
home, the good
yeah,
job, the education. It
yeah,
looks good on paper. There was no
yeah,
reason for me to be unhappy.
yeah.
None.
None at all. Yeah.
According to society standards, right?
Right, right.
No
Especially
reason.
where you came from, you're an
Right.
immigrant, and it's
Exactly.
like, okay, you're living the American dream. You
Hmm.
should be happy with your life, and you're like, no, but I'm sad,
Yeah.
and I don't know why.
Yeah. And it wasn't just a sadness. It was literally I was uncomfortable. I would literally go for walks. I remember I had a friend. My friend used to work there. Shakia, I see you on the and I would tap her in her department. Let's go for a walk. We would go for
Wow.
walks,
Yeah.
and we would talk about what our lives would look like if we actually followed our passions.
Wow. Wow.
And I remember we used to walk and talk about, okay, what if we did this and that? And we kind of became each other's accountability partner without even saying that we're each other's accountability partner. It just
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
And we said, okay, when we leave this job, I used to take the laptop home, and I'm going home, I'm doing work. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No, no,
I am
no.
going to spend 1 hour
Yeah.
every day and
Yes.
work on my passion. And
Yes.
that's what I did.
Yes. You invested in yourself.
You
You
invested in yourself.
decided to invest in yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes investing in yourself is not always financially, it's time. Like,
It's time.
our greatest opportunity of wealth is really our time. That's our greatest
Yes.
value, is our
Mm-hmm.
time. Like, I don't like my time being wasted, because time is money. But you said,
Yes.
I'm gonna take an hour a day, hey family, let me rest, or let me focus on this thing for an hour a day. And I love that. So you finally decided
Mm-hmm.
to make the move
So
and
where it
hop out
becomes
of.
even trickier, because
Okay.
I didn't decide to make the move. I decided to, and I remember my prayer is always, God, order my steps,
Mm,
and I'll follow, even
yeah.
though I don't know where 10 steps ahead of me will lead. Just give
Yeah.
me 3 steps, and I'll just step these
Yeah.
3 steps. And it may
Yeah.
take me a little while to even step 2 more steps after that, but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm still on the steps that He's planted for me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I decided the first step was to spend 1 hour a day. So that means when I get home, cook dinner,
Yeah.
check homework, spend time with the family, spend
Yeah.
time with the husband. Everyone went to bed. Alexia
Yeah.
was up at midnight to one
Wow.
o'clock.
Wow. Every
That was
day.
my time every day,
Oh,
12
look,
to
I'm
1.
thinking it's like 7 o'clock. You're like, hold on, y'all. Look, I'm gonna get dinner at 8 o'clock. Now she said at 12 to 1 a.m.
12
in the
to
silence.
1
Wow.
at night.
Wow.
The house was quiet. That
Wow.
was my time to map out everything, my LLC, my insurances, whatever the logo, the name, whatever it
Yeah.
is that I wanted to do. I'm like,
Yes.
this week, this is what I'm going to do this week, and I have to accomplish that. But you find when you are working on something that you love,
Yeah.
that 1 hour became 2 hours and
Yes.
3 hours. And I
Yeah.
found that I was up to like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I have to go to
Yeah.
bed. I have to get up in
Yeah.
another hour.
Right.
you know.
Right. It's so effortless, and it gives you.
Hmm.
Did you find that it gave you a reason to wake up every morning
Yes.
and like continue, like even go harder at work in a way,
Hmm.
because you
Hmm.
knew that time was coming.
Yes. Hmm. And I made sure that, because like I said, I used to take work home with me. I used to take home
Mm-hmm.
that laptop. I
Mm-hmm.
made sure whatever needed to be done for the day was
Yep.
done, so that I
Yep.
didn't have to bring it home.
So
And
you're more
I
efficient.
I was more efficient. I
You
was
probably got a
definitely more
you probably
efficient.
got a promotion at some point in time during this this whole process.
And I wasn't
I would
looking for it
imagine.
because
Yeah.
I knew I was uncomfortable. I didn't want
Yeah.
to be here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so when I got everything lined up, I'm like, wow, my website is ready. Everything is ready. My business
Yeah.
cards came in the mail. Everything is ready.
Were you like, run?
Like, what did I do?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I created a whole business. What did I do?
Right.
What am I supposed to do
Right.
with this now?
Right.
You know? So it was, I literally, when everything was ready to go, I cried.
Wow.
I cried because I said, oh my God, I'm afraid. I'm
Yeah.
afraid of stepping out and
Yeah.
not being successful. I'm afraid of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid. It was just so many things that I literally, and you have to be honest with yourself. You have to admit what you're afraid of so that you can tackle those fears.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
it was a
Yes.
hard conversation, Nancy.
Yes, to look yourself in the mirror and to be like,
Yeah.
look, I'm afraid I'm not, because a lot of times admitting fear, I found, and it's something I think we all struggle, like we all have our struggles. The only way to, was it Will Smith? It probably wasn't his saying, but fear is what? False expectations appearing real. G. Ray says finger snaps. Yes. But yeah, you gotta just attack what that fear is. And just real quick before we continue the story, you did mention a fear of failing, right? So I've recently said I've got a fear of success. And people hear that, and actually listen to one podcast. I can't remember who I was listening to. And geez, look, these earbuds. Okay,
Yeah.
they were But so people hear that sometimes and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, you are not, you got some fans, Alexia. Big proud of you.
Oh, that's the cousin Nat. Hi, Nat.
Hey, cousin.
Thank you, Nat.
But yeah, when people hear fear of a failure and then, or they hear fear of success, like fear of success is being afraid of what comes with the success, the expectation. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Like it's heavy. And it's like, dang, I got to sustain that, And so did that ever cross your mind, like at all? Like, how do I sustain it? Or was it just more so, how do I not fumble?
That didn't cross my mind.
Wow.
At all. Because I can handle success.
Yeah.
It was the responsibility of failing others around me. My business, I'm here to be of service to someone else.
Right.
I'm literally taking someone's special moment and taking hold of that. And my fear was failing that person.
Wow. So it wasn't even a fear, your fear for yourself. It was to let other people down. And when I say that is exuded in your execution of your events, and maybe that fear, because you take your fears and you take, the bad, right? And you turn them into something positive. And so I think that's really, would you say, I can have my thoughts, but do you think that has helped you in any way?
It has. It has, definitely, because and I tell all my clients, I try to be as transparent as possible. Your wedding or your event, whatever it is that you have now charged me with, I literally take it on as if it's mine.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You don't get to do this again.
Yeah.
And so I have to know that we don't get to do this again.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure that this is memorable. It is epic. It is everything that you have been dreaming of for years, especially when it comes to weddings. Little girls, we think about the dress, we think about the wedding before we get the man,
Right.
So I absolutely am mindful of that and mindful of just understanding, like, that first look, you don't get that first look again.
Right.
You don't get. So when I sit down and I create that timeline and I play it out in my head, I literally, you hear the Jamaican come out my head. My head.
Yes.
I literally close my eyes and I run through the entire day because I want to make sure
Wow.
I capture everything, you know?
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
But
So
that does help.
yeah. So walk us through like what was your first of like your you've got your business cards, you're like, oh my God, I have a business. And then then what? Like how did you kind of get to where you're at today from that point?
So I thought I knew how to network. I thought I really understood this whole thing called networking
You thought.
and putting myself out there in marketing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I quickly realized, like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Why did you
Um,
think you knew how to network? Because of the education world
yeah.
that you were in? Gotcha.
Yeah. You go to college, you're meeting people all the time. And it's
Yeah.
a different ball game when you're stepping out and you're trying to market your business and tell people. And, people are not going to refer you if they don't trust you.
Right.
And so you have to be willing to be completely vulnerable,
Yep.
completely
In what way?
transparent,
Okay.
and showing people who you are and what you will do for their clients. So I started going to different events, networking events, and I think I'm the only one who showed up at like real estate events. I was
Because
like,
realtors need
yeah.
event planners too,
Right. I
right?
was just
Yeah.
going to any event that will expose me to
Yeah.
people that
Yeah.
I can talk to and just, probably learn from as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes I would sit back and just watch. There's always one person in the room that has this networking thing down pat. And if you just sit back and just watch that person, you can take notes. The body language, the just the way that they're so confident
Mm-hmm.
in understanding who they are and being able to relate that without even using words,
Wow.
and so I had to relearn how to network. I had to relearn how to create an elevator speech.
Yeah.
And I, step out of my shyness. Because
Yeah.
on that end, I realized, oh my God, I'm really shy. And I need to push through that. I need to do it through the fear,
Why in that space were you shy?
Because it's intimidating when you're around a lot of people who've been in business for years.
Mm-hmm.
And, people aren't always nice. You get into spaces and sometimes they're like, who are you? And
Yeah.
I've been to networking events where no one has even said hello.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um,
Look, Chopin said, "Are you shy?"
Chupin, Chupin was one of the first people that I met. She's actually a baker, a wonderful baker. And I met her and I'm like, wow, I feel like I know this lady for years. And so I realized you will meet people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started
Mm-hmm.
asking God to put people in my path who made me feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable.
I love that.
You know?
I love that. I love that. So what was your first kind of big I mean they're all big gigs, right?
Mhm.
Or not gigs, but events and big moments. So what was your first like big, oh my gosh, I have really arrived moment?
Okay. So believe it or not, I've had some wonderful experiences, but last year, and like I said, I've been in business now for going on 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a Tanzanian and Nigerian wedding.
Yeah.
And I love culture. I
Yes.
love the feel of tradition.
Yeah.
And to have this Nigerian and have Tanzanian, and I have to merge the two. And then it's not one day, but it's 2 days. Ooh.
Wow.
It was so
Wow.
exciting for me.
Jeez,
I was
the
like,
whole
I have
situation.
arrived, honey.
Yes. Oh my
Yes.
God. So not only 8 years, so you were 7 years in the game.
Mhm.
You booked them, but okay, you didn't book them 7 years. So you booked them. When did you actually?
I booked them year 5 because we actually had
Okay.
to, because pandemics happened and we
Yeah.
had to push it off a year. So I
Wow.
booked them, I think, year 5. And
Yeah.
working with them was just such a pleasure. And like I said, I've had wonderful events prior to that,
Yeah.
but being in this moment and coming full circle with the culture,
Yeah.
and even just respecting the culture, and
Yeah.
kind of having to step back and allowing them to teach me,
Yeah.
you know, and humble
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
and be in the presence of them and their family, and just really respecting, you know, how they operate as a community. I think for me that was like a big moment,
Yeah.
you know.
So again, this is the second time you've kind of brought up culture
Mhm.
and the fact that you take a step back and you're paying attention to the culture,
Mhm.
right? Some would probably say that, I'm not doing that. Like, why would I need to pay attention to the culture? Like, why is that so important to you?
You know, it's important to me because it goes back to just coming here,
Hmm.
to another country,
Yeah.
going through a huge culture shock,
Yeah.
um, trying to assimilate.
Hmm.
And when you come here at a young age, you know, and for me, it got to a point too where I wasn't Jamaican enough and I'm not American enough.
Hmm.
So you're
I know
in
the
this,
struggle.
yeah, you're in this in between space of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, I am who I am,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And
Right.
so when you're trying to assimilate, and even the accent, and you're trying
Yeah.
to make sure that you don't sound too rough and too,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of have to, and not on purpose, but you lose
A piece of
some
you.
of yourself and some of
Yeah.
your culture. And
Yeah.
so for me, it was just always the yearning to keep those gems of what
Yeah.
makes me who I am,
Yeah.
what feeds me, what
Yeah.
grows me, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was fascinating that when I started working with, the bride was Tanzanian, you know, she was so welcoming, so sweet. When
Yeah.
I started
Yeah.
working with her, it was so fascinating to know that we have arrived in a time where she came from another country and she was free to be who she was. There
Mm.
was no need to
Yeah.
assimilate and
Yep.
lose who she
Yeah.
was and the
Yeah.
culture that raised her. And
Yeah.
so it was so, I remember going to the house for the first time and meeting the family and how they sat around in a circle, and the reverence that they had for the older generation, and the
Mm-hmm.
reverence that they had as the other family came to, the groom's family came in. It
Yeah.
was such a moment that I'm like, oh my God, I was
Yeah.
robbed of this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just a moment where I'm just like, this is what I love. And I
Yeah.
wish everyone can see how beautiful, in all our differences, how
Yeah.
beautiful we are,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so for me, it was very emotional. It was very eye-opening. Like, wow, she
Yeah.
really kept everything pure, you
Yeah.
know, from the beads to the
Yeah.
fabric it was just such a beautiful experience. So for me,
Yeah.
that was like the full come
Full,
to, you know, full
yes.
circle moment, you know?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love, because it is important,
Mhm.
to, as in myself being an immigrant,
Yeah.
being West African, like, our weddings aren't the same as, the westernized weddings. We do have two different,
Mhm.
type recognitions. And so the
Mhm.
fact that you are an event planner,
I don't know, event amazingnesses, um, that, can respect that.
Mhm.
Um, I know I would put my trust in you,
Oh, thank you.
to really secure like my special day. So,
Right.
can you kind of walk us through, putting on such a big, grand 2-day event like that?
Yeah.
Give us some tips, girl. What do we need to kind of look out for?
The biggest thing that I can say is really staying organized.
Yeah.
You have to have a formula that allows the process to happen, and you have to trust the process.
Mhm.
Meaning that when you have 2 days, this is 2 days of a traditional wedding,
Yeah.
and a white wedding,
Mm-hmm.
the Western white wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're working with two different sets of vendors. So altogether, I believe we had maybe 20 something vendors
Wow.
for the 2 days, maybe more.
Wow.
And so keeping everyone organized and communicating with all the vendors is definitely the key.
Yeah.
And trusting the process, meaning that I bring on vendors that I can vouch for.
Right.
And
right.
so when I bring you on as the photographer or as the DJ or as the baker, I bring you on, I'm not worried about you because I know that you are going to do what you know how to do because I've seen you do it.
Right.
And so there's a trust there.
Right.
I trust that this is how the cake is going to look. We had one conversation. This is the time you need to deliver it. I trust that you're going to be there on time with the product and you're going to do your very best. And so I tell all my creatives, I trust you to be creative in your space and in your element.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, outside of, so timeline wise, so you've got the trust element to ensure everyone kind of arrives on time. Now, a culture like that, look, I love my people.
Yes. Yes.
They are my people, but I know that we are not good with time. So how do you, like, what's like, you know, how did you even manage something like that? Because you can't tell Africans be here and, oh, it starts at 6. Okay, that's 9.
That's where the listening comes in. And so we've been planning this. I'm meeting with the family. I'm listening. I'm listening to everything. And, you know, up until the wedding, every week they have something at the house. And I quickly realized if they tell me 7 o'clock, you know, the on-time person that I am, I'm showing up at 6:45. And I get there and, okay, nothing or no one is here.
Like, including the host.
Including the host. And they don't arrive until 11. I pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And so the things as a planner that you are paying attention to, they don't have to know that you're paying attention. And so in knowing this, you create an expectation. And so every time we meet, I'm mentioning in time, I'm slipping that word in there and I'm letting them know, listen, if we don't start at this time, guess what's going to happen on the back end? We're going to lose. We're not going to be able to do all these things you want to do. You know, so it's literally creating and managing the expectation early.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, and all planners can tell
you.
Can
you define early?
Okay. As soon as you are made aware of the habits, you know. And so, like I said, in showing up 1 or 2 times at an event, I'm like, okay, I'm the only one here at 6:45. 8 o'clock, no, we haven't eaten yet. 9 o'clock, no prayer yet. You know, so at 11 o'clock, I see people strolling in. At 1 o'clock, they starting to set the buffet. I'm like, wait a minute now. This is my Golden Girls time. I'm supposed to be in bed, you know? You know, so you learn quickly. You have to pay attention.
Right. And
so even though you are having fun and you're making them feel comfortable, you have to listen.
Yeah.
And you have to watch.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things, you won't see me writing in front of clients or typing in front of clients, but the minute I go in my car, I'm like making my notes.
Yeah.
Note to self, make sure you do this. Note to self, they're like 4 hours late. Note to self, you know. And so
sorry, can we just pause real quick?
Sure.
I want people to kind of catch this. Anybody that's like, you know, sitting here and learning with Lex time, just kind of catch a couple of these gems that you're dropping, right? Because really what I'm hearing is you're serving, you're being a humble servant in it through the process of not, you know, being braggadocious or you're not chastising anybody. It's more so, hey, I'm here for you. I want to serve you. Let us have your day be a special day, etc. But you're doing it humbly. You're not, you know, you were late and so that builds trust.
Right.
You're taking mental note and then you're going and you're writing that down. That's you writing it down in private. You're like, that's for me.
That's for me. No one else sees it.
No one else sees that. But it's I need to remember, okay, I need to make sure I have these things addressed separately. So I just want to point that out because I don't know if you caught that you're saying, you know, such a beautiful gem right there of
thank you.
Don't attack people. It's all about building that trust, that level of trust and paying attention to detail. And to them, they're just like, oh, I'm trusting you. Oh, you know us so well. You're like, yes, I'm paying attention. I'm
Yeah,
writing
you
notes.
have to.
I'm studying you. I love it. I love it.
You have to. I love to be around my clients.
Yeah.
Even when I have meetings and, there are times when they can't meet in person,
Yeah.
I'm doing a Zoom. And I purposely do that because I want to see your face.
Yeah.
I want to see facial expressions because I need to know the facial expression you make when you're not happy about something.
Yep.
I need to know when you are super excited. And some people are like very flat, even though they're excited.
Yeah.
I have to understand that.
Right.
They're like, well, she doesn't seem excited. I'm like, no, trust me, she loves it.
Right.
And they're like, how do you know? I know.
That's good.
Yeah.
Am I excited? That's good.
Right. And, I need to see your face because I'm looking at your body language. I'm understanding your mannerisms. So for me, the more you tell me to come around, and sometimes they'll invite me out to different things, I'll go.
Yeah.
And I'll go because it gives you an opportunity to get to know me. And the more you know me, the more you trust me to deliver.
Yeah.
But it also gives me an opportunity to kind of get into their world and understand who they are and their taste and their vibes. And I can just hone in on that.
Yeah. And capture every detail.
Yes.
So much work leading up to the day of. So you're factoring the time as you're leading into it. So how was this particular couple on time?
They did exactly what I trusted them to do, not be on time.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Again, I knew that already. So knowing that, I already have spoken to the caterer. I've already made preparations because I already know.
Yeah.
And then there's certain times where I'm like, oh, and they're like, oh, we're late. I'm like, don't worry. It's all good.
Yeah.
We have time to do this. I've already switched this over.
Yep.
I've already opened the bar so that whoever arrives early, they can get a cocktail.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the thing is, as a planner, you can plan everything to a T and you can try to control everything. But the one thing you cannot control is people.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yep.
And so you just have to move with them.
Yeah.
And you have to pivot with them.
Ooh.
You
and these bars. Oh my, when I say that's a life lesson, that's legitimately, I'm going to take these out. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. That's legitimately a life lesson because you can't always control your environment. And the more you try to control your environment, like what have you found as a planner? The more you try to control it, what happens?
It stresses you out. And no one has fun. If you're stressed out, you're bringing that energy into the space and no one has a good time.
Right.
And so one of the things that I know that I am definitely mindful of is to stay calm and stay composed.
But I'm sorry. I know you. So I'm about to snitch. You do stay calm, you do stay composed, but when you got a face.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Nancy.
Look, we're all like, oh my God, it's bad, guys.
Because I can't think when it's chaotic. So I have to find
you're zen.
So that I can pivot when I need to pivot. And I can think. So I don't panic very quickly, and I don't,
Kenya says facts.
Yes, that's my good friend Stacy. She's like, yeah. I have to be able to be that person to think. And sometimes you'll see me grab the timeline, and I'll start changing things, and I'll hand it to the DJ, and I'll start writing things, and I'll say, okay, this is what we're gonna do to make a time or whatever that looks like. But it doesn't make sense to panic.
Yeah.
Nothing good comes out of panic.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And more importantly, my objective is to create the experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the experience for my couple, for the guests, is more important than, okay, we are running 10 minutes late. No. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to turn this around. We're going to make sure, okay, I had one wedding where the grandmother, she forgot something at the hotel. She took the Uber back to the hotel. No one knew. And coming back, she got stuck in traffic.
Oh, Jesus.
This is the groom's grandmother.
Oh my God.
There's no way we're starting this wedding without his grandmother.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? No worries. She's on the way. Literally, she was like an hour in traffic.
Wow.
I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open up that photo booth. We're going to get the guests to, get in there and take some photos. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
We're going to turn the music on. And then I went and made an announcement. I spoke with the officiant. She was okay with it. And we just had a good pre-celebration before the ceremony. But
impromptu.
You have to, impromptu.
And that's what I'm like. So, just hearing everything, right, about how you operate, how you flow. What do you call yourself? Like, how would you define who you are?
That's a good one. We say we are wedding planners and event planners, but you really have to be more than that.
Yeah.
You have to be a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a financial advisor.
Mm.
You have to sometimes be the voice of reasoning.
Yeah.
Because, part of that too is understanding family dynamics.
Yeah.
Understanding how to make people feel good and find the joy in this moment, regardless of what's happening in their lives. And so it's more than just planning and curating all the moving pieces. It's more than that. You really have to have the heart to be here.
Yeah.
Because if not, then the experience for everyone will not be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's important to me. Like I said, understanding family dynamics, understanding, tell me all the hidden secrets I need to know, and it stays right here, but tell it to me. And they have to feel comfortable in doing that. I have to make them feel comfortable, because sometimes when you meet these clients, they're not long-lasting relationships where we've known each other for 20 years.
Right.
We meet each other, and literally like the first meeting is happening 2-3 weeks later.
Yeah.
You have to feel comfortable with me to share some of the family stuff. And I have to, make them understand that what you say to me is what you say to me. No one needs to know.
Yeah.
And so this is going to help me kind of maneuver to create the experience. Because even if there's someone in the family where, black sheep of the family, that black sheep deserves to have joy as well.
Yeah.
Which
is because it's part of, if they're not enjoying the moment, they could really make the environment just really negative, and you feel that negative air and that negative cloud.
It permeates really quickly.
It does really quickly. Love is strong, but man, like a negative cloud, those storms, y'all. A storm will come and take away the sunshine. You know? So we're going to kind of open it up here to everyone that's in the room. Feel free to drop some questions here in the comments, and we'll, Alexia is going to, any question about event planning, event management, she might drop a gem or two, or whatnot.
Sharing.
Right. And so while we're kind of waiting on that to kind of come through, what's your ultimate goal for the Savvy Planner? And, I didn't even ask you, why the Savvy Planner? I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
So my daughter is actually in the background laughing right now. Her name is Savannah. And so when we were coming up with business names, and I tell you, I'm coming with business names. We have Sunday dinners as a family. And I said, everyone write down their ideas.
Yeah.
And we're going to vote on the best name. And, I wanted, I think it was like the soiree or something to that effect.
Something whack.
They voted it out really quick.
Right.
So my daughter, she says, well, my name is Savannah. You call me Savvy, so why not the Savvy Planner? And just name it after me. And she said it in like a joking way.
Oh, there's Savannah. They're Savvy. I'm going to call you Savvy from now on. She said, that's my mommy.
So when she said that, we all looked like, wait a minute. That sounds I really like that. And then the play on words, I definitely pride myself in being savvy in terms of details and cost and budget. Yeah. So it just really fit. And it was just like, that's it. We all fell in love with it instantly. All of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is that's such a great story. Mm-hmm. From now on, I'm only calling Savannah Savvy, first and foremost.
She's
And
dancing over there, by the way.
huh?
She's dancing in the background. Listening to you.
Hey, Savvy. But yeah, so with the Savvy Planner and with it almost being like a gosh, I wish we had so much more time. You're gonna have to come back because I want to kind of touch also on your family life and because you could do some really really cool things with Savvy and Co. But yeah. So what was your vision when you first started? If you what did you want out of the Savvy Planner, and how has that transitioned to now?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question. So with all business, and you can speak to any entrepreneur, we come in, we have these grand ideas, which you should, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes we want to start way up here when we just need to start here,
right,
and then build.
Right.
And so for me, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to plan, design, make florals, if everything except cook and do cake. Those are the two things I'm like, I'm not going to cook and I'm not going to bake a cake. That's it. Okay. But I literally thought I can do I can do everything.
Yeah.
And so I had to really find my niche and find out what is it that I like to do? What is it that I'm good at? What is it that I hate to do in the business? And what is it that I'm not so good at?
Yeah.
Because I can't be good at everything, right?
Yeah.
And that really helps me quickly because you have to have some really honest conversations because like I said, every decision you make is impacting someone else.
Yeah, facts.
And they do not get a do-over. Yeah. Yes, you will learn from it business-wise and your next client, but that person who's been impacted by the decision you make right now does not get a do-over.
Yeah.
And so I had to really be honest and, figure out, okay, do I like weddings? Do I like corporate? Do I want to do all of it? So I started out just taking, that's another thing too, taking anything that came my way. I had to step back really quickly and say, you know what? Not all client is my client. Not everyone is for me. Our energies. Our energies have to flow. And I want to have a good time doing what I do. And I want you to have a good time.
Right.
And if I am not the person for you and I'm not the person that's going to make sure that you have a good time, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
I don't have a very high tolerance for rudeness.
Yeah.
And you know that. I
Right.
I don't have so I had to really take a step back and kind of understand what my ideal client looks like.
Yeah.
Your
avatar. Who is your avatar, right? That's always number one. Yeah.
Yes. Who is my avatar? Who am I trying to get on my roster here?
Right.
And also understanding what I can offer in terms of my service. I can't do it all.
Yeah.
And so that comes to also leading into the networking and meeting people that are in their creative element. Yeah. So for instance, yes, I am, trained to do florals and I will do florals if I need to jump in there and get it done. Mm-hmm. But we have florists for a reason.
Right. And you're opening up a job. That's their job. You're stopping someone else's financial blessing or ability because you're greedy and you just want it all. And so I love that. Quad says, that takes a lot of honesty with yourself to focus on your ideal client. It really does.
It really does.
It's really hard not to be out here in these streets for everybody. Okay. Putting yourself for $1 and then being stressed out and that's a whole nother.
It's very stressful when you are working with clients that don't necessarily match.
Yeah.
And you don't match them either. Right. It's stressful for them. It's stressful for you because you're trying to essentially fit this square into this circle and it's just not going.
Right.
It's not for you.
It's not for you. It's not for you. So in 5 years, maybe not 5 years. Let's live. I mean, you're Sagittarius like me. So let's live year by year. Maybe 2 years. So in a couple years, where do you see yourself? Like, where are you heading right now?
In a couple years, this year, first of all, I must say that I definitely like who I am business-wise. I'm very thrilled in the path that is carved out for me. So why
this year?
this year, I feel like people know who I am.
Yeah.
They understand what I do
Yeah.
and how I do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like now people are kind of recognizing the Savvy Planner's name.
Yeah.
And so that definitely helps, where it's not so much effort in trying to not necessarily convince people, but it's like jumping through all these hoops that you have to jump through initially with every business, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, this year, 2022 is the year of love, the year of events. We just left the pandemic. Everyone wants to celebrate. Everyone wants to get married.
Yeah.
And so it's just been a great uptick in business right now. So I'm extremely happy with that.
Congratulations.
So just thank you. So the direction is really good. The next couple of years, I would love to be able to have a venue. That is the goal.
Love that.
Yeah. So prayers up for me, please.
Yes.
That is the goal.
And why is a goal? Why is that goal? Kenya Stacy, actually, you said her name is Stacy.
Yeah.
She said your passion for event planning drives your success. Yes, hands down.
Thank you.
And she also said, it makes it easy to give the clients what they need to have a memorable event. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with the venue, why is that your goal for the next couple year, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years or so. That's my goal because I have so many ideas, right?
Yeah.
And I know, everyone has ideas, great ideas, but for me, like I said, I've identified an area that is not necessarily out there in terms of wedding venues.
Yeah.
This side of town, it's lacking,
Yeah.
I definitely want to be a little bit more luxurious in the delivery, in the style. Elegance is something that I run with in everything that I do.
Yeah.
And so I would love to be able to provide that to everyone, and just be able to just create just beautiful experiences from start to finish. And so being in the business, you go to different venues, you go to different things, you see what I would not do to what I would do to what, and so you learn, okay, this needs to be offered. I want to offer that.
Yeah. Ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love that you're really futuristic, forward thinking, and owning the land is a great way to kind of pass on, right? That legacy that you're building. So, what is the number one thing that you've really learned throughout your whole journey? Sum it up into a couple sentences. I'm not going to give you like what's your elevator speech, I guess, would you say, of what you really learned?
I think for me is be as vulnerable and honest with yourself as much as possible. You will save yourself a ton load of headache. Okay. Because a lot of times we operate in a space of, I'm doing this because others want me to do it, or I'm doing this because I'm backed into a corner.
Yes.
When you understand who you are and understand what your passion and your drive and where you need to be and how to stand tall.
Yes.
You can't be pushed into a corner that easily. And you'll be able to provide the best of you to whoever comes in your circle or whoever comes in your element. And it also acts as a deterrent, because I feel like when people approach me, they know, okay, this one, we're not going to approach her with certain things. I'm not the one that you want to sit down and gossip with. I'm not the one that you want. I'm just not that person.
Right.
Now, if you want to call me, you want to have a prayer moment, then we can chat.
Which, you've gotten some of my phone calls. Like that before.
We can talk,
Yeah, so I love that. Just know who you are, be confident in who you are, as you're walking steadfast. Any last words? As we kind of wrap up, you've just been so phenomenal, and
thank you, Nancy.
as always. And
Thank you.
and again, you're gonna have to come back, because There's a
Absolutely.
whole portion of your life that I just want to really cover.
I know 1 hour is not enough.
It's not enough.
Thank you so much for having me. But I would have to say, just in a nutshell, the same rhetoric, the same thing that I've always said. Just understand who you are, and stay strong in that, and trust the process. Even when it seems dim, trust the process.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to have all the answers, but just take 3 steps if you can. And if it's only 1 step, just take that 1 step until you can get to the next step. Trust the process.
Trust the process. I think that's what we're going to title this one.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. You have been a pleasure. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. Next week, we're going to be back. We're supposed to have an international guest, y'all. So I'm kind of excited. Author, lawyer turned author from Brazil. So really excited about that. March is going to bring about some really exciting things. And so stay tuned for SIPs. We're live every Thursday. So go ahead right now. If you're not following Alexia, the Savvy Planner, go follow her right on phone, because she shall be back. Okay, especially when we're doing SIPs live in Atlanta here at some point. Look, I might have to have you on my panel.
I cannot wait.
Thanks, Shakia. Stacey said, I'll take that trust the process. So thank you all so much. See y'all next week. And until then, happy sipping.
Happy sipping. Cheers. Thank you for having me, Nancy.
Of course. Bye.
All right. Take care.